We at Inner Picture Stories are delighted to present the IPS t-shirts. T-shirts that change the world. Not only does each t-shirt design tell a story and carry a message of light waiting to be spread in your life and to those around you, but with each purchase, you also get to choose the cause you would like to support, where parts of your money will go. The causes that these shirts support vary from the environment to animals to those struggling with mental health issues, suicidal thoughts, loneliness, and diseases such as cancer. For further information about the IPS t-shirts and about the good causes you can support, simply go to innerpicturestories.com/shirts and take a look at these stunning t-shirts that can change the world. Welcome to the Inner Picture Stories podcast. My name is James Swan, your host and the founder of Inner Picture Stories, the educational platform on life. I hereby invite you to come on a journey with me. In each episode, we will dive into the life of an inspiring person seeking lessons of wisdom about life and the world we live in. Answers that you can take away and use in your own life. It's true that no one ever said life would be easy, but it's also true that no one ever said you had to do it alone. So get ready and let the journey begin.
Be who you are, because there's no one else on this earth or ever will be who is exactly like you. So embrace that. More and more people are starting to see the light, and that mindfulness is becoming more mainstream. More people are realizing that this is a way that you can improve your life right away. You can do it today. We just need to let somebody else help us.
This is episode 002 with Bruce Langford. Welcome to another episode of the Inner Picture Stories podcast with your host, James Swan. On today's podcast, I had the honor to talk with Bruce Langford. Bruce is a life coach who helps people from all walks of life, from students to teachers, parents to entrepreneurs, to take control of their lives through mindfulness. Now, I can already imagine a couple of questions popping up from some of you, such as, what exactly does a life coach do? And what the hell is mindfulness? Bear with me. As the philosopher Lao Tzu said, if you're depressed, you are living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you're at peace, you're living in the present. Mindfulness is about being aware of this very moment right here and all that is happening around you and within you at this very moment. Mindfulness is about being aware of that voice within your own mind. The mind is a very busy place, and when we're not aware of that voice in our minds, that voice that each and every one of us has, the one that always seems to talk against us, bringing us down, telling us that we're not good enough, not rich enough, not pretty enough, not talented enough. When we're not aware of that voice, it causes us confusion, unhappiness, depression, and anxiety. Now, I'm sure for some people this might sound odd or weird or just downright crazy, what I'm talking about right now, but I would suggest that if you think this, you should definitely keep on listening. The mind is the most powerful thing in the universe that can let us accomplish extraordinary things within our lives, but only when we are aware of it. Otherwise, it only creates destructive and negative thoughts. As a life coach, someone who helps people attain their goals in life, and as the host of the podcast Mindfulness Mode, Bruce Langford coaches people to take control of their own minds by teaching them about mindfulness, bringing the effects of being more calm, focused, and happy. Some of the things we talk about are where unhappiness comes from, what to do about it, why so many people have such a hard time staying mindful throughout the day, what he would change in schools and educational systems, 2 questions that will give a better direction and understanding about your life and who you are, and just so much more. It really is a fascinating conversation that contains lessons that will change your life around for the better. Now, I'm going to let the expert himself do the rest of the talking here, so with no further ado, here is episode 002 with Bruce Langford. Enjoy. Bruce, you are a life coach, and you help people to stay more calm, focused, and happier through mindfulness. You also run a podcast yourself called Mindfulness Mode, where you interview people, and where I had the honor myself to be interviewed about how they stay mindful in their life. So it's no more than obvious that the main subject why I wanted to interview you for, and the wisdom that I want to draw out of you, is about mindfulness. But before I want to dig into the main subject, I just want to start with a couple of starting questions. And the first one is, do you have any morning routines, Bruce, that you feel contribute to your happiness?
Yes, I do. And first of all, Yellis, I want to thank you very much for having me on your show. It's a real honor to be here. So thanks for that. And morning routines. I definitely have a morning routine, and it starts usually at 5:15 a.m. and I get up and I meditate. That's the first thing I do. And I meditate for 20 minutes, and it's usually either completely unguided, so silent, or sometimes I put the sound of waves in the background, and that just gives a very calming background to my meditation time. And then after I'm finished meditating, I work out. Most days I have a total gym machine, and so I just work out and feel really good as I'm just kind of relaxed and unwinding and just gently working out for about 15 or 20 minutes. And then I have some breakfast after that, and it's usually either oatmeal or it's a type of shredded wheat and bran that does not have sugar, because I am very limited in the amount of sugar, processed sugar, that I ingest. So I usually avoid sugar altogether. So that's how my day begins, Yellis.
Wow. You stand up at 5:15, you said, in the morning?
Usually. There are some exceptions, but usually I'm up at 5:15. Yeah.
That's pretty much the time when I go to bed.
Oh,
yeah.
You're a night hawk.
I am. So it's funny how you can be so different with other people. But yeah,
yes,
that's a good morning routine, actually, because it get your mind already at ease, and you do some workout to get your blood circulation going through your body.
Yes.
I'm always interested with the following question. What do you think is the cause of unhappiness in most people?
I think most people don't know what they want. And I think that they are living based on a limiting belief, or a number of limiting beliefs, that somehow they've taken on a belief in their mind. Maybe it came when they were a child or when they were a teenager. They have a belief that is causing a conflict within their mind. And so they're trying to do one thing, but in their mind there's a subconscious message that's going against that goal, and it's causing confusion, it's causing conflict. And anytime there's conflict, there's unhappiness. So a lot of times I feel it's related to that.
Absolutely true. What would be your advice then to someone on how to deal with unhappiness?
Well, my advice is to start with meditation, and that calms your mind. And sometimes it takes a while. You know, it doesn't just take 1 or 2 sessions. It takes a routine of meditation, and you start to become clear on what you want, where you want to go, and who you are. And I think that many of us, we get caught up in society's reasons for living, and we get caught up in social media and in the mainstream media, and we start thinking, you know, we want that new car, we want that new home, we want to have all the perks that life can possibly provide. And in order to do that, what do we need? We need a really generous flow of income coming in. And if you have that generous flow of income already, that can be okay. But so many are going into debt. And when you go into debt to get those things that you believe you want, then you're on this ever-going cycle that causes more conflict.
Very well said, and I totally agree with that. What do you do to remind yourself of your appreciation of life?
Well, I really believe in gratitude and just constantly thinking about, what am I grateful for at this moment? I can look out the window and I can see the leaves on the trees, and I can see animals out there. I have nature out the window. I'm grateful for that. But there's so many things to be grateful for. And I teach my clients, think about a list of things. Be grateful every day. Think about specifically what you're grateful for. Before you go to sleep, think of 3 things that you're grateful for at this moment. I mean, every moment we have things to be grateful for. And I think it can really contribute to our level of happiness. And, if you combine that with deep breathing and being relaxed through healthy breathing and healthy eating, and just really looking at the world in a way that makes you feel good. And I'm always careful to say in a positive way, because we can't always feel positive. It's not about being happy all the time in every minute, because as human beings, sometimes we feel low, sometimes we feel discouraged, sometimes we feel totally energetic and totally upbeat. I mean, we would never feel happy if there were never moments of sadness, because we'd never have anything to compare it to.
That's so well said. Absolutely. You need unhappiness just as much as happiness, because it's like the good and the bad, right? You need bad stuff. Otherwise, you just can't see the good things. And also, because people always focus, through a day there are 100 of things going right, but yes, people always focus just on the 3 or 4 things that went wrong instead of the 100 things that went right. So yes, if you could just shift that around and not focus too much on those things that went wrong, but just see all the things that went right. And it can be so simple things. All those simple things could go wrong, like just crossing the street. That could have gone horribly wrong, but it went right. So it's all about shifting your view on what you want to focus. Bruce, I'm extremely excited here now to go and dig into the main subject of the show, which is mindfulness. And I know this is a question you ask in your podcast as first as well, but I'm going to ask it too, because it will serve as a good clarification before we dig deeper within mindfulness. So for those who are listening and who are not too familiar what it is about, could you explain what mindfulness means?
Well, mindfulness means living in the moment, being able to think about now and how, I can feel good right now. I can be happy now. I don't have to focus on the past and on things that maybe weren't that great, or I don't need to focus on what might happen in the future. And so often people who are unhappy are focusing on the past and on the future and not enough on now. Mm-hmm. And another thing about mindfulness is to make up your mind to do as little judging as possible. Try not to be critical of others as much as possible. Just be accepting and be open and allow other people to be who they are and situations to be what they are. As soon as we try to start controlling the situations and the people and everything that goes on around us, it can become a very overwhelming experience. And I say all this, and it doesn't mean that in any way I'm perfect at doing any of these things. I mean, life's a journey and I'm working away at it, and I have days when I stop and I think, just a second, why were you just being critical there? Or why did this happen? Or why did that happen? And I think being mindful, you notice these things. Mm-hmm. It's about noticing.
Yep, absolutely. I'm always curious about this kind of question here. How did you start out with mindfulness yourself? What has been your introduction to it?
I started out with mindfulness because I was working with a lot of students, a lot of kids some adults as well in the field of bullying prevention.
Yeah.
Because I was a teacher in a school, and I started to notice that there were so many children who were being bullied, who were going to school and feeling unhappy. And yet it seemed as though nothing was being done about it. And this was over 10 years ago. This was almost 15 years ago. And so I made up my mind to be the one. I thought, well, you know how you say, well, somebody should do something. Somebody should do something about this situation.
Yes.
And of course, well, just a second, maybe that somebody should be me.
Exactly.
So I decided to just put it out there. I put it out there to the world. I sent out in the mail flyers about a program that I envisioned. And I thought, if I could do an anti-bullying program, this is what it would be like. It would have music. It would have drama and role play. It would have videos. It would be interactive. It would be fun for the audience. And I put all of these ideas together, made a flyer as if the program existed, and sent it out and said, hey, would you hire me to come to your school or your place of business to do this presentation? And I was flooded with affirmative answers. They wanted to have me in. And then I'm like, oh, that means I have to create this program. And what happened was, as I started creating the program and putting the program on and presenting, I started realizing what a major part of this was mindfulness. That if you can really teach children and adults the importance of living in the moment, the importance of not judging, not focusing so much on the past and what happened before and worrying about what might happen tomorrow. If you can put all those things together, then bullying will naturally decline. And so I started being a lot more regular with my meditation practice, and I started reading a lot more books and articles all about mindfulness, and I just immersed myself. Now, it took time, over the years. I just gradually immersed myself more and more into the topic of mindfulness until I came to the point where I thought, you know what, I want to do more teaching of mindfulness and less anti-bullying, because if I teach about mindfulness, anti-bullying, that will take care of itself.
You teach mindfulness to children then, but is it to the bullies and to the victims, or is it only one of them or both of them?
I teach it to everyone.
Yes, okay.
Because we can all at times be bullies. We can all at times be victims. We're all human, and, this whole realm of emotions happens to all of us. Obviously, there are people who are in that place where they do a lot more bullying, and there are people who are in that place where they feel like a victim much of the time. But I teach mindfulness to a wide range of people. And yes, I have noticed that can really make a difference. And last year, I took a 3-month job position in a school where I was there full time. And every single day I did mindfulness exercises, mindfulness practices with the students. And I didn't tell them necessarily that it was mindfulness. I didn't use the word mindfulness. I just said, oh, listen to this pitch, this note. Let's listen to this, or let's look at this image, and let's think about the texture. Let's think about the color and things like this. And I just wove it into the regular ongoing activities in the day. And I noticed a gradual shift in the attitude of the students. And by the end of the 3 months, I interviewed them. I gave them questionnaires, and I spent time with them and asked them. When I asked them certain questions, they said, well, it's hard to explain. I just feel more calm when I come to your room. I just feel, it feels like peaceful here. It's like a peaceful place. And they used words like this to describe it. They said, I feel relaxed. I feel rested. I feel like I want to be here. And these were children ranging from the ages of 5 years old all the way up to 13 years old.
Wow.
And so like I thought, okay, maybe the younger ones would express themselves this way, but let's see how the older ones express themselves. And they use different words. They use different verbiage.
They say the same. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They said, I don't know what it is. It's just like we feel like we want to be here, and it's a good place to be, It feels right. It feels like it's a safe place. They use that word. So it was really exciting to be able to have that experience and see how it really did make a concrete difference in their lives.
Yeah, the effects of mindfulness are incredible. And I think it's amazing that you didn't say that it was mindfulness that you were teaching them, but that you more like put it in there. And because it's like meditation, right? I think a lot of people have this kind of weird imprint about meditation, and I think they also have this about mindfulness, but it's just because they don't actually really know what it does to you and what it is.
Isn't it crazy the effect that certain words can have on us because of previous ideas, previous beliefs, or we've heard people talking about it, and all of a sudden that word takes on a negative connotation, or sometimes it takes on a very positive connotation, and it's just a word. But it's absolutely true. Words can be incredibly powerful.
They are the most powerful weapon in the world.
Yeah.
You already kind of mentioned this though, but I still want to ask, for you the question might sound very obvious, but for people who do not know what that much about mindfulness, what is the benefit of being mindful in life?
Oh, there are fantastic benefits. And it's much like the children say. Sometimes it's very difficult to actually put those benefits into words so that other people truly understand.
I know that. And that's why some books are so good, because they actually help you to explain it to yourself in words.
That's right. So, I think one of the first things is that people will say to me, you just seem so calm. Or I certainly have times when I feel so calm. I feel this almost incredible sense of calm. I just want to sit with this. I'm just enjoying this feeling so much, this sense of calm that I'm experiencing this afternoon. And I don't think to myself, it's going to be here forever. I don't think to myself, oh dear, it's going to leave and create anxiety. It's about just allowing it to be, allowing myself to enjoy it and realize that it may come back anytime, it may leave anytime, and I'm not going to judge it. And I do know that just by experimenting, if I had a very short meditation session one day for some reason, it was cut off, or I was interrupted or something, then later on I'd be thinking, oh, why do I feel so stressed today? And I might think back, oh, this morning, I was interrupted during my meditation, and then I wasn't able to kind of sink into it the same way as I usually do. Could that be the reason? And so I just find that overall, it just changes the way I feel. I just feel more relaxed. There are far fewer peaks and valleys. I still feel peaks in that I still feel heightened senses of happiness and relaxation, but I don't feel those lower times so much where I'm like, oh, why am I even here? What am I even doing? And, I used to feel more of that. And so that seems to have disappeared more. So it's kind of like giving me more of an even keel, less peaks and valleys, just an evenness that is at a place that is really easy to enjoy.
Yeah, and because you're focusing on what's here in front of you, and it is exactly, if you start focusing on the past or start focusing on the future and you start living in them, then of course you don't feel calm, because you're just living somewhere totally different than where you are at the moment. So that calmness definitely comes from focusing on what is here at the moment in front of you.
Yes.
As a life coach, Bruce, you come in contact with a lot of different people from all sorts of backgrounds.
Yes.
What's been the hardest thing for you about coaching other people?
That's a great question. I think one of the things is that, you just I want to model the kinds of things that I want them to learn. And that is because I think as human beings, we don't want to be told what to do. It's like, I can't say, okay, here's your list. I need to do these 5 things, da 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 da. Because, it's so much easier if people see what I do and they think to themselves, geez, I want to have that sense of calm, that sense of peace. What does he do to achieve that? And then I can let them know what I do by modeling it, and then they can learn to do it. Now, you asked the question, what is frustrating or what is difficult? And that is when I see that meditation can really help that person, or I see that if they could just sink into some journaling and just really take time to just start writing about what they want in their life. But then 2 weeks later, I talk to them and I say, did you meditate every day? Were you able to fit that into your schedule? Oh, well, I did it once, or I only journaled like 2 of the days and I only had time to do it for 5 minutes because I find it really hard. And so I know these things can be difficult, especially when you're first starting. It can be difficult to implement a new regime and do something that is a little bit out of your comfort zone. So, but the thing is, if people come to me for help and they're, putting themselves out there, it's my hope that they'll really take the suggestions and believe in them and go with them. And that's how I can help them. So if they just don't go for it and don't do the things that I encourage them to do, then that's kind of disheartening at times. And I have to just think to myself, you know what? It is what it is. Maybe this isn't their time. Maybe they're not ready for it. Maybe, there are reasons that they're not doing it. Maybe this week, they'll start getting into it and it'll help them. Or maybe I can help them in another way.
Yeah, see, that's for like a life coach or for a psychologist or people who give information and give like practical things that people can do to improve their life with. Because I have these 2 friends or people asking me on a couple of things that they need help with, and I give them all the information. I give them all the tools and everything that they need. But that's the only thing that I can do. Like, it's still up to them to actually take action upon it. And it can be, you don't have control over that. And that can be kind of hard, I think, doing these kind of jobs that you see potential that they could totally change their whole life, but they're not taking the action to change it.
Right.
So in schools, we don't get anything really taught about mindfulness, although now just hearing what you said, there are people like you who are putting these kind of programs in schools, which are just amazing. But it's still kind of funny to me that it's not that much as it should be, because it's such a valuable practice that anyone would benefit from tremendously throughout their whole life. And it's exactly why I actually created Inner Picture Stories, as I wanted to create a pathway on this kind of life subject where we get zero amount of information about in school. And I greatly look up to people like you, Bruce, who are set out to teach others these kind of valuable life lessons. So my question, and I'm sure I've already put a lot of thoughts on this, but if you could change something in the school systems, what would you change?
Well, I would start with the teachers and help them to understand what mindfulness means.
Yes.
And so much of it has to do with getting the teachers to a place where they feel happy, they feel content, and they feel like they can model these behaviors for the children. And that's where it's going to really make a difference. Spend time with the teachers. Let them know that you want them to feel good every day. You want them to enjoy their lives. And that's a great place to start right there.
Yeah, and it's exactly teaching the teachers this kind of behavior or this kind of way of seeing life, of being mindful themselves. They will go and spread it around to everyone in the room. And yeah, there are just so many teachers who are not mindful at all and just, wandering around in their own past and in their own future. And it can be, it affects the whole class. And I felt it in school a lot of times that I thought like, they're not too happy.
Yes.
But why do you think this has not been applied in schools yet?
Well, I think it's a number of reasons. And one is, like we talked about before, when it comes to words like meditation, there can be a negative connotation. And there's this whole idea, or there has been, some of these things are woo-woo, they're out there, they're a little bit crazy. And sadly, that is a reality. Many people have this belief. If it's not something that is completely mainstream, then, it's not something that makes any sense or has any value. And so that's part of it. Part of it is that, we're just growing as a species. We're growing. And I mean, thousands of years ago, people meditated in the East, of course, but we're continuing to transition and we're continuing to grow. And I think that more and more people are starting to see the light and that mindfulness is becoming more mainstream. More people are realizing that this is a way that you can improve your life right away. You can do it today.
Yeah, and also science is just showing, like on meditation, just all the benefits. And they're there, they're real. And, I'm very happy that science is showing this and spreading this out, because this will actually make people believe it and not see it as something whooshy or whatever. And it has real effect, and it's been around for thousands of years, and that's for a reason. You have a son yourself, Bruce. Do you teach him about mindfulness? And if so, how?
Yes, I do teach him about mindfulness. And
That's cool. Yeah.
The thing is it's much like I said before, it's like just modeling it, just showing him that I try not to judge people. I try not to be critical. I mean, I'm human. I make mistakes, and I realize some days that maybe he doesn't see eye to eye with some of the things I do. But I think one of the things is he learns a lot from my podcast, because he edits many of the episodes. For the summer when he was off school, he came and worked with me 3 days a week in my studio. And so he edited many episodes. And if I say to him, can you remember that one episode where I talked to this guy, Ellis Vaz, and he'll say, episode number. And then he knows the episode number and he knows the details and he remembers it. And so obviously he's learning from people like you, Yellis, because he's edited your episode. So he's a great guy, and he has an incredible sense of being grounded. He's very grounded. He is very analytical and very calm. And he's a great kid. Like he just really seems to have taken on a lot of these qualities. Now, how many of them are just natural qualities that he has? I mean, his mother is a very calm woman. I was very fortunate. I kind of systematically sought out the kind of person that I felt would be right for me. A person who was calm, a person who, was not overly focused on the material world, a person who had a sense of contentment in her life. And then I found Darlene. And so, it's no coincidence that she's his mother. So I think he's got great opportunities to be mindful with the situation that he experiences in his life every day.
Yeah, he's kind of lucky with you there that, that you're doing this podcast about mindfulness and that you're a life coach. And yeah, it's amazing for him because and editing those episodes, he's being brought into it all the time. That's
yes.
Yeah, good practice for him there. Mindfulness is a continuous practice for everyone. And well, why do you think so many people have such a hard time keeping themselves within that state of mindfulness?
Possibly part of it is because we don't know ourselves well enough. We don't understand some of the mechanics that makes us work as human beings. I picked up the book, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg.
Yeah,
and
I know
you probably know that book, right? Yes. And it just has such exciting detail in it about what makes us tick as humans. And I just ate that up. I just thought, wow, this is fascinating. We can create habits in ourselves in almost no time,
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sometimes those are bad habits, But
there are some,
it outlines all this in the book and has case studies. And it really taught me a lot about noticing myself and noticing how, yes, I can create positive habits. I can change my life by starting step by step, bit by bit, creating some of these habits. And then it's easy. It's easy to do the things. And if you feel like, whoa, life is hard. It's so hard every day to, drop my child off at school on time. It's always a struggle. Well, step back, think about the pieces that go together to create your day and create some different habits. Mm-hmm. And before long, you'll find, wow, every day I get up and I do these things and I drop my son off at school at a certain time, and it doesn't seem to be a pressure or a stress the way it used to, because I've implemented positive habits that work for me and make life seem easy.
Yeah, exactly. Because, focusing on negative habits, that's a habit actually that you're creating for yourself. But in the same way, you can just as much turn it around and create a positive habit. And, when I used to live at my parents', I'm not a big fan of of the news actually, but every evening they were watching the news, and because it was just a habit for them without actually realizing the effects that it was having on them, because you get brought this negativity about the world and all the things that are going wrong. And, I told them, but it was just a habit. So they just keep doing it every night.
Yes.
While I just don't like to focus on something that just doesn't make the world better or doesn't improve my life. I always try to focus on something of those two things instead of just negativity.
I agree with you completely. Yeah. I gave up the mainstream media about 2 or 3 years ago. I used to like to watch the news a lot. And then I thought, I think what happened was we went on a vacation, and I thought, I don't want to discontinue the newspaper, because when I come back from my vacation, I want to read all those past issues. And, I went away. I was so relaxed. It was a wonderful vacation. We were away for 2 or 3 weeks, and I came back and there was this big pile of newspapers. And yet everything was the same. I mean, I could just pick up life where I left off. I realized, I didn't need to read those newspapers. It didn't matter. Life wasn't going to change. And when I did pick up the newspapers and start to read them, I'm like, this is the same old stuff. So much of this is just the same old stuff being retold in a different way with different names and places. Exactly. I don't need this.
No, and one thing that a lot of people don't really realize is that the news, it's a company, and
yes,
what they want is to make the most money, and we humans are naturally drawn to negativity because it's just the human instinct that we have.
Yes.
And so of course they will go and put the whole news full of this kind of stuff, because we will buy this. We're interested in those stuff, even though it's not happening next to our house. So we just get this imprint that the world is all dangerous, but it's just happening somewhere totally different across the other side of the globe, not next to us. But we do get this feeling that there's a war going on where we are living right now. And yeah, people just get a wrong image about what the world really is, because
So true.
we're being shaped by reading and seeing and listening to the news. So I just got myself off from that completely, and the big news will spread around by word anyway, so I don't
Yes, it will.
have to follow the news to get those. But yeah, news, I could say for everyone to just kind of cut that off in their life. It doesn't help. At least that's my opinion about it.
Right. Mine too.
From all the people that you've interviewed on your podcast, what other similarities did you found other than practicing mindfulness that contributed to their happiness?
Oh, that is an awesome question. And it's wonderful when I interview so many people from so many walks of life. A surfer who finds his mindfulness through surfing and the water and spending his days out there learning to just let himself flow with the waves. And someone else who spends their time climbing mountains and getting up to those peaks where the snow is. And every step, every moment of that climb is mindfulness for them. That's meditation for them. And the common denominators are amazing with all these people. Some of them are, their mindfulness is figuring out ways to create a project that makes millions of dollars and can serve others and improve the lives of people in the world. And I spend time with all these different people, then I feel all these common denominators. They're just looking for contentment. They're just we're all looking for a level of comfort, a level of happiness, a level of being grounded and centered and understanding the world in our own way so that we feel positive and we feel good about moving forward. And these are all common denominators with us as human beings. And some of us are feeling overwhelmed and filled with anxiety, and we just need to let somebody else help us. Let somebody else kind of talk us through some of these things and help us realize that, yeah, probably that other person was there too. We've all experienced overwhelm. We've all experienced anxiety, but we were not designed, in my opinion, as human beings to go it alone. We need each other and we can help each other, and we all have value to offer to the world. We just need to discover it. We just need to allow it to kind of blossom in our lives.
Yeah, we are definitely not made to just be alone and just wander the world around on our own. We are, made to connect with other people, and that's exactly where, a lot of happiness comes from, connecting with other people. Talking about your podcast, you have had a lot of incredible guests on there. Which interview stood really out to you, and can you recommend other listeners to check out? And I'll put them on the show notes of this episode so everyone can track them down easily.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. That's a great question, and that keeps changing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like I do an interview with someone, and I'm so excited, and I'm so pumped and can't wait to share the message and tell people about this interview and how, if you tune in, it'll probably help you. You'll start to see the world in a different way. And I just recently interviewed someone named James Swan, and for his whole life, he's been a designer. He knew from a young age that he wanted to help to make people's living space, help them feel good and feel contented. And so with his design, he first worked for a firm, and then he started his own law firm in Los Angeles, I think it was, or in California anyway. And he has built a career all around in my opinion, all around mindfulness, all about being aware that the space around you where you live and work really truly affects how you feel, how you perform, and your level of success. So I was really excited to speak with James Swan, and he was episode 166. And, it's always a challenge, as I go through this, how am I going to come up with a title? Because sometimes the title is the most important part of the interview. So I called it Create a Nurturing, Mindful Space. And then I put his name with $1 Million Decorating host James Swan, because he has a show called $1 Million Decorating. But it's true for so many people that I've interviewed. For instance, I interviewed a man who said, you know what, most of us drive every day. Many of us drive a vehicle of some kind. And how many times do you go out on the roadways and you notice that there's a sense of anxiety? People are trying to get ahead. People are trying to get there sooner. They're trying to save time. They're trying to, cut you off or whatever it is. He said, we can take mindfulness into our cars.
Definitely.
That can be a mindful place. He says, I want you to think of your car as a mindfulness lab. And I thought, that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
And so he's written a book all about mindful driving and using your car for just a place where you can be mindful. He said, you don't have to be, listening to something all the time, or all the time having music on or whatever. Sometimes it's good to just turn it all off and relax and be mindful. Notice, how can I enjoy the sounds that are happening right now? What about the feeling of my hands on the steering wheel? What about just the appearance of the roadway ahead? And just really focus on now and being mindful and enjoying it and being relaxed. Do I feel tension in my neck? Just relax that tension. And, it was fascinating talking with him. And his book is called Learning to Drive into the Now. So I thought that was a cool title.
That's a cool title. Definitely. I'll put that on the show notes. That's I'll check that out. That's interesting, because for a lot of people, they have to drive to work. That's for a lot of people what they have to do almost every day, and most people are very stressed in their car going to work because of all the other traffic. So that could be a very helpful book for a lot of people out there. Any other guests that really stood out to you that you could say?
So many, but I want to mention Danny Cray. Mm-hmm. And he really inspired me because he's all about running. His whole life is about, he just enjoys it. It just gives him peace. It gives him a sense of fulfillment, a sense of mindfulness. He's decided to run a marathon in every state in the U.S. because he's from the U.S. And I mean, wow, what a goal. But as we talked about running on the show, it was episode 162, he talked about how when he was younger, he didn't like running at all. It was not a positive thing. It was more of a punishment. When he was doing sports, if they did something wrong, the coach would stop and say, okay, 2 laps. That was a punishment. And so later he realized it could be a source of real pleasure, relaxing, and it could just help him to get focused and to get grounded. Now he says he doesn't know how he could live without it. So he has a podcast as well, and it's called Diz Runs, because his nickname is D-I-Z, Diz Runs. And he's just a great guy, so down to earth, so natural. There's nothing pretentious about him or phony. He's just really, really a relaxed guy who tells you that, running for me has really helped me in my life and helped me to achieve the kind of life that I really enjoy.
Interesting people, all of them.
Yes.
I'll definitely put them on the show notes so other people can check those episodes out. Bruce, when you feel overwhelmed, what do you do to improve on that situation?
Well, one of the things I do is I jump up and I get moving. because I think movement is just a huge thing. So, and the brain is a funny thing because, if I get discouraged, I just kind of feel like I want to curl up and not move, not be active. And yet I just counter that. I say, Bruce, no, don't listen to that voice. Get up. I look out the window and I see the trees. I see the ravine out there, and I know the river is just beyond it. There's a trail. I can get up. I can go out there and I can breathe in the fresh air. I can get moving, get my body moving. And I know I'm going to feel different about life. Just even in 10 minutes, if I take a 10-minute walk out there, I'm going to feel so much better. And
agree.
So, and there are all kinds of ways you can move. You can jump up and do some jumping jacks right in your office. You can do lots of different things, but I think it's really important. And Tony Robbins really talks about this. And, I've been to a number of his events, a couple of them. And boy, you do not just sit there and listen to Tony Robbins. He has you up, and he has you throwing your arms in the air, and he has you yelling, and he gets you moving. And it's because he believes this very same thing. Get your body moving, change your state, your physical state, to change your inner mental state. And it really works.
It does. And Tony Robbins is an amazing guy. A friend of mine has been to one of his events a couple of months ago. And he also said it was just crazy, all the jumping that he had to do. But it's true. Just when I feel, kind of even bad or something, I just go outside and start sporting. And afterwards, I just feel so much different. It's just amazing what moving does to you. Because, it kind of feels like you're resetting your brain or something again.
Yes.
Besides your own podcast, Bruce, which, by the way, is an incredible way to learn more about mindfulness. And also, if you would make a habit out of this, of listening to one of your episodes every day, it would be incredibly helpful to experience the here and now more as you're being reminded about it every day. But what other resources could you recommend for people to check out who want to learn more or who want to dive deeper within mindfulness? So, for example, any books or something that you could recommend?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. First of all, there was a book I read probably a couple of years ago, and I always keep thinking back to it because it was such a beautiful story. And it was a story. It was like a fictional story, but it really wasn't. It was a true story of the man's life, but it was a beautiful way that he told his story. And the book is called The Surrender Experiment. It's by Michael A. Singer.
Oh, I know him. I don't know the book though, but I don't know.
Well, he also wrote The Untethered Soul.
Exactly, that one I've read. And that's cool. I will check that book out because The Untethered Soul, I really thought that was an amazing book.
It really is amazing. And, there's so many books. One of them that, we talked about morning routines. And the one that really made a difference for me was The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And he talks about this. He's got incredible energy and an incredible story. And just reading the book, it's amazing. You just get pumped up. You get excited. You're like, oh, wow, like how excited this man is to get up at 5 a.m. I can be like that, And it's funny that words can do this for you. But he has a Facebook group that's incredibly active. And he's just a wonderful man, Hal Elrod. So the Miracle Morning made a big difference for me.
What's the Facebook group called?
I think it's just called the Miracle Morning Group or something. I think if you search it, I think you'll find it right away.
Yep. Okay.
And another book I love is by Jon Kabat-Zinn. He's so incredible. He's just like amazing. And the book that I'm referring to is called Wherever You Go, There You Are. He's written many books and so much wonderful content. This book is a great read, but in a way it's almost like just a mindfulness resource that you can go to anytime. And I find if I just open it to any place and I just read a page or two, it's like, whoa, like I'm impacted, and I keep thinking every single page in this book has amazing quotes. And he flows it all together. It's not like quote after quote after quote. It's just that it feels like everything is true wisdom. So I really like Jon Kabat-Zinn. He's an amazing author.
Wow, these are some couple of books that I haven't read, and I'm definitely going to check them out in a bit. And I'll put them on the show notes for everyone to check out as well. What practice of mindfulness can you recommend to people? And besides meditation, because meditation is a very powerful one, but is there any other one that you can say for those who might not be too much in meditation to practice mindfulness? Yes, there are. And I think that something that's really valuable that you can do, that anyone can do who has any kind of technology at all. Now, a lot of times we talk about journaling, but sometimes people think of journaling, it's almost like, oh, that word just means work. It just means, I don't want to have to do that. That's like punishment, and it isn't, but maybe it is to you. Maybe to you that word means that. But you know what you can do? You can write down 2 questions, and you can hit record on almost any form of technology, whether it's your phone, whether you have something like a tablet. If you have a computer, you can use a free program called Audacity, and you can hit record on there. And in our technological world, you can record very, very easily nowadays. And if you write down 2 questions, one, who am I? And the second question is, what do I want? And for 10 minutes, just speak on this. It's private. It's like your own personal diary. It takes no effort from the point of view of writing out words and, trying to think about the grammar and the spelling. Just speak it. Who am I? And it really doesn't matter what you say because it's just for you. Yeah. And keep a record of these files on your computer or wherever it works for you. And after a few weeks, you're going to feel different. And especially if you go back and you think, where was I? Where was I that time when I started that? How was I feeling? Oh yeah, I remember when I tried to answer the question, who am I had no idea what to say, right? That's pretty natural. That like, geez, I don't know, who am I? And if you just say something, if you just start and you just record some thoughts about who you are and some thoughts about what you want in your life, then you start to form a very real, very applicable, valuable chart, which is going to help you in your life. And you're going to feel more grounded because you're going to feel like you truly know who you are and you truly know where you're going. So this is going to be really valuable for you. That's an incredible practice, actually. And it's exactly so few people actually come to ask that question to themselves, who am I? And once you start doing it and you start answering it and you keep doing that, you get a better vision and a better idea who you actually are. So I really like that practice. I will even go and try that out. Yeah, that's a good one. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
What's been for you the greatest lesson you've come to learn about yourself or about life practicing mindfulness?
The greatest lesson, I think the greatest lesson is that the answers are within myself. The answers are not mystical, out there, lost in space. The answers are right here. The answers are within myself. All I have to do is allow them to be heard. And that may sound strange to you, but I think in my life, the more I've been able to allow to like stop trying so hard, stop working so hard to make something happen. You just feel the tension there, but to just relax, let it go, let it happen, connect with people, connect with yourself, and you will find that those answers appear. So the answers are there waiting for you to see them. Absolutely.
They are all within you. It's just about listening to them. Yeah, absolutely. Bruce, I already want to thank you for sharing this valuable wisdom that you have shared with everyone about mindfulness. And I'm absolutely sure many people, including me, will benefit greatly from it. So thank you. And I want to enclose here by the main subject and finish off this interview with a couple of ending questions. What do you feel that your parents taught you well while you were growing up?
Well, I think my parents taught me how to be strong, be independent, how to survive in the world. I have four brothers and 2 sisters. It was a sizable family. And so we had to be independent to a certain extent. We had to manage things on our own. We had this space that we could, use it ourselves. I wanted to create music. That's what I wanted to do. I always knew it. And I asked my parents and, I said, could I please take lessons? And even there, they just kind of let me know that would be my thing, that was going to be up to me. I would be paying for the lessons myself. It was my responsibility that I must commit to practicing. I must commit to buying any books I would need. And I was only 9 years old, and I thought, whoa, I'm going to be paying for my own lessons. And then I thought, but I really want to do it. And I think that makes a big difference. It's a commitment. It's teaching a sense of commitment that even at a young age, that's important. It's not like everything's just handed to you on a silver platter, Yeah. And so I thank my parents for that, for teaching me about commitment and teaching me that, you have to take on things with this sense of, I'm making a promise to myself that I'm going to make this work.
That's my parents, when I was young, when I wanted something, for example, if I wanted a toy when I was young, I asked for it and they just bought it for me. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that I never really learned to really appreciate it that way because I didn't have to do anything for it. Right. So I guess when you actually were able to buy your book, you will come to appreciate it so much more because you worked for it and you would feel proud of yourself. So that's something good that your parents taught you there.
Yeah, it is. And, with a lot of these lessons, it took me a lot of time to realize that it was a lesson. Mm-hmm. I mean, there were many times when I thought, none of my classmates, none of my friends had to pay for music lessons. I must be in a bad place. I mean, this must be a terrible thing that I had to pay for music lessons, And of course, I wasn't realizing that in itself was a lesson. That my parents taught me. And so now I realize that. Now I look back and I see it. But isn't it funny that at times in life, like we all do, I felt like somewhat of a victim. I thought, oh dear, I was not given so many things like my friends were. And so therefore I must be underprivileged in some kind of a small way, and not so at all.
Yeah, exactly. It is, once you start to grow, when you're older and you look back what your parents have been teaching you, you actually come to see really what they were trying to teach you. But at that point, it's sometimes very hard to actually see the lesson in it. And especially when you're younger, it's kind of hard to see it. What would you have liked your parents to have taught you differently, though?
Well, you know what? I think that many times I look at, say, my parents or others, and if there were something there that I thought, oh dear, maybe they missed out, maybe there's something that they could have done better, then I think, oh, that's probably a lesson. That's a lesson for me so that I can, really try to make sure that my son has that benefit. For instance, my parents, I would say that many times it was difficult for them to accept gestures of kindness. If I wanted to give them something, if I wanted to share something with them, it was difficult because they did not have as much of that ability to kind of accept from others. And my dad was is a very strong, very independent man. And so I think that naturally, is a place where it's hard for him to accept help from other people. And he's gradually learned to over the years. But I want my son to be able to accept from others and be a giver as well. Really understand how to give and accept from others. And I think that will benefit him greatly in his life.
Yeah, it's not always when someone gives something to you that it's for a reason that they want something for you. Sometimes it's really just because they want to be nice to you and they just want to give something to you because they appreciate who you are. So
true.
If any, which book do you consider to be your personal Bible?
Well, I think this book that I mentioned overall is like that. Wherever you go, there you are, by Jon Kabat-Zinn. It is a book that I can have with me anytime, pick up, open to any spot, and get value out of it. So that's as much like a mindfulness Bible as anything, even though there are thousands of wonderful books on the topic. Yeah. It is really terrific.
What's your all-time favorite quote?
Well, let me see. There are so many of them, and I often pull up quotes when I'm just thinking about a certain topic or thinking about, the topic of forgiveness or the topic of
it definitely changes around for me too, which one is my favorite one, but the one that might be more applying to you at the moment.
Well, I think that this quote is really, really meaningful to me on mindfulness. And this quote is it's a pretty well-known quote. Walk as if you are kissing the earth with your feet. And this is by Thich Nhat Hanh. Yeah. And I interviewed a woman who said, you need to feel grounded. You need to feel connected to the earth. And she was so expressive and she was so excited. And she said, here in my country, I'm thinking, I don't think it was Belgium. I'm not sure which country it is. She says, we have snow. We have snow right now. She says, I will take off my shoes and socks. I will run out and I will run in the snow and I will feel grounded. I'm like, whoa, we have snow here in Canada too, and I never really ran out in the snow in my feet, in my bare feet. And so, and then with that quote, it really rings true. Like, walk as if you are kissing the earth with your feet. And if you live your life that way, you will connect with others. You will feel connected to yourself. You will feel a sense of mindfulness that will benefit you.
We draw energy from the world. I mean, the world is our magnet. We're attached to it. But so many times we just kind of separate ourselves by actually putting shoes on. And so I actually think that's pretty cool that she ran outside with no shoes.
Yeah.
It makes you feel connected with the world a lot.
It does.
So we are here by the final 3 questions. What words of wisdom, what advice has helped you through your life?
Live who you are. Embrace who you are. And I think so many times we feel a lack of confidence. We start to feel, oh dear, should I really be doing this? Should I really be doing that? But I think you really need to embrace who you are and be that person, not try to copy someone else. I mean, we can all be inspired by others. We can all, it can really help us, but be who you are, because there's no one else on this earth or ever will be who is exactly like you. So embrace that.
I say that to people too a lot of times, that there is absolutely no one ever going to be like you on this planet. And you're being given to be this person who you are, so explore it and see who you actually are and be proud of that, because there's never going to be anyone like you. But, still so many people rather want to be someone and pretend to be someone than who they are. So
yes.
And it's amazing when you actually start to listen to who you are and start to see all the amazing gifts that you have been given and all the skills that other people do not have and that you have. But you do have to go and pay attention to who you are.
True. Yellis, I have something for your listeners. Is that okay?
Yeah, for sure.
It's just a simple infographic that has a component of breathing, a component of mantras, and just a little bit about mindfulness. And you can get that at mindfulnessmode.com/calm, CALM. And it's free just for your listeners. If you want to just be inspired with something you can put on the wall in your workspace or your living space, and just let it kind of guide you and remind you that mindfulness is a wonderful way of improving your state of mind.
I'll definitely link that up on the show notes so everyone can just easily find that link. And yeah, thank you for that, Bruce.
My pleasure.
What does it mean for you to stay connected with the world? And how do you stay connected? For example, is it through traveling or being in nature?
I listen to myself. And I didn't used to know how to do this, but I just stop. And I think I do it because of the meditation and the journaling and some of these things. I think that helps me. But I just think, okay, just a second. Why are you feeling that way right now? Oh, maybe you haven't had a walk in nature today. Maybe it's because you haven't connected with some other individuals today. And I have to keep a healthy balance of all of these things. I mean, there are times I have to go in my studio and I have to hunker down and I have to do a whole lot of editing or a whole lot of work online, writing. I love to write articles and post them on different places. But the bottom line is I have to have a balance. I have to get out there in nature and exercise. I have to spend time with my family that feels positive. I need to spend time out there with strangers, like connecting, just getting to know new people. All of those things are important in my life.
Yeah, it's really all about balance, and you will feel it where you're not balanced. And I mean, of course, there are, like you said, times that you have to work and can't go outside as much as you would have liked to because you have to finish all this work. But in the end, after a while, you just have to go and decide and make time to go outside again. And it's just about feeling and taking notice of when it's too much and when you have to go and connect with the world again.
Yes.
So, Bruce, before I ask the final question here, where can people find and connect with you?
Oh, people can connect with me at mindfulnessmode.com. And right there is where all my podcast episodes are. You can email me, bruce@mindfulnessmode.com. Remember that mindfulness just has one L, which even I forget sometimes, and so that's where you can connect with me. I'd love to hear from you, just even a one-line comment, or if you want to ask me a question or some advice, or maybe you want to jump on a call with me. Don't be afraid to reach out to me. I would really, really honor an opportunity to connect with your listeners, Yellis.
Perfect. So the final question here, from everything that you've seen, experienced, lived and learned in your life, what is the one thing you know to be true?
The one thing that I know to be true is that we all have value to offer, and that it is important for us to just allow ourselves to do that, to offer that value to the world. Think about what value you have to offer. And allow yourself to do it. And when I say allow yourself, That is such an important word. It's not about a make work project. It's not, okay, now I've got to take on another project and do another thing. It's just allow yourself to offer that piece of you to the world so that others can benefit from it.
Bruce, thank you so much for your time here.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me on the show, Yellis.
And there we have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode 002 with Bruce Langford about mindfulness. If you did, be sure to share this episode with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, etc. and help spread this wisdom around. If you found value in this interview, please give it a rating and write a review on iTunes. It really would be very much appreciated. Show notes about this episode can be found on innerpicturestories.com/podcast. Just type in Bruce Langford in the search bar and this episode will pop right up. I hereby thank you for listening and wish you a very pleasant day. Until next time, this is James Swan signing off.